about the occupation of Palestinians by the Israelis, and it also gets into a little bit about the potential unity government of Hamas, a recognized terrorist group, and Fatah, the political party. Sorry.
2005, an Arab boy trapped in his own home.
An Israeli girl lost her arm to a suicide bomber.
He is scared.
She is scarred.
Fear is normal here. One of his friends was a martyr.
One of her friends met a gruesome fate.
She was killed.
He was killed.
This is the occupation. This is the norm.
1967.
Egypt.
Jordan.
Syria.
All countries preparing to invade Israel.
Caught in the middle, no allies, only our own people.
The end of the war has just brought more structure and prosperity.
We're suffering for the West Bank.
For most, it was reasonable. For others, it was terrifying and wrong.
We were oppressed.
1989. Rock throwing, tire burning, soldiers everywhere.
The stone was our only weapon.
Pointless rumors.
Frustrated and angry, we fought for civil rights.
But we retaliated.
Boycotts and demonstrations.
Chaos. A 17-year-old boy shot in cold blood.
An Israeli truck crashed into an Arab van. 4 dead.
2017. Hamas.
Fatah.
Terrorists.
Peacemakers.
A potential unity government in Palestine, but negotiations must be made first.
Fatah is willing.
But Hamas must disarm itself or they are going nowhere.
It's either hope or despair for many. It's a bold move for the ones who wish for peace and for the ones who cause endless pain through acts of terrorism.
Everyone is hoping it will end well.
Everyone is hoping the storm is over. But in the Middle East, hope is as scarce as water.
What does it mean to be human? To have rights?
To be treated properly.
To live free?
To have a voice.
19th century social Darwinism, a skill that both ranked and created races of people.
An act of pseudoscience, placing the English at the top.
Or the Germans at the top.
Or whoever wrote the thing at the top. And the Africans at the bottom.
Or the Jews and Arabs at the bottom. Nationalism, a belief that one's country or ethnicity are not just superior to all, but are entitled to more. Germany,
France,
Great Britain,
Russia, all under the spell of their own nationalism.
and boiled down to an all-out war. After just 2 shots were fired in Sarajevo, 1914.
Anti-Semitism,
A belief in the inferiority of Jews.
amplified by the social Darwinist movement. Zionism,
Zionism.
a logical response to European anti-Semitism.
An organization established in 1897 under Theodor Herzl.
A movement for the re-establishment, development, and protection of a Jewish national homeland.
The modern-day Israeli-Palestinian conflict, shaped by 19th century isms.
And 20th century isms.
Imagine having to move just because you don't have a certain belief.
Imagine being ranked on a scale from superior people to savages, being placed at the bottom just because your skin was darker.
Imagine being Jewish and being called Christ killers and devils. How would you feel?
Imagine losing all your rights based solely on your ethnicity,
Imagine walking through the gates of Auschwitz, knowing your future.
knowing your fate.
Our poem is called Two Shots, Two Wars.
And it's a timeline of the roots of the Jewish-Muslim conflict that started 1900. Our families have been living on their farms for generations,
My brothers and I work in the fields every day.
cultivating crops to feed my family. I am proud of my religion,
Jewish.
Muslim.
It's all the same to the Ottomans as long as we pay our taxes.
While life in Palestine is relatively calm, it's a different story in Europe.
Anti-Semitism is rising.
Theodor Herzl's Zionist response is gaining popularity.
The news every day is exciting and painful to read.
June 28, 1914, Sarajevo. Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, goes to Sarajevo on a planned visit,
In the motorcade, a grenade is hurled at the Archduke's car.
but blows up under the wrong vehicle.
He is driven through the planned route to town hall.
But decides to go off-route to visit the people injured in the blast.
Across town,
Gavrilo Princip is walking away from the failed assassination. He stops at a deli.
While at the same time, Ferdinand's driver gets lost.
By coincidence, he pulls up and stops the Archduke's car just feet away from the assassin,
Princip pulls out a gun.
and fires 2 shots.
With Russia as a Serbian ally,
And Germany backing Austria-Hungary, war is now inevitable.
our German victory requires swift French surrender to meet Russian forces on the Eastern Front.
Going through neutral Belgium pulled Britain into the war.
This is now a continental conflict.
Germany is halted at Liège.
Once they break Belgian defenses, forces continue southward towards the city of Mons.
Britain enters and defends the city.
French and British forces retreat to the Marne River,
They begin the notorious Race to the Sea.
starting the entrenched stalemate.
Germany's plan has failed.
Now October 30th, 1914.
War has been raging for a few months now, and the Ottoman Empire is now in the fight, bringing my homeland dangerously close to conflict.
1917.
Following 3 years of intense warfare,
Britain invades Palestine after centuries of being under Ottoman rule.
the Ottoman Empire collapses. Palestine is now a British colony.
3 days after the British invasion, Arthur James Balfour sends a letter.
It gives permission to the Zionist movement to act on its plans for a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. I have lived here my whole life in peace. What will this do to my quiet farmland?
This could be great for my people, but what about the community that already resides here?
What if the British rule won't be able to handle a complicated situation?
1921.
Every year, about 1,000 Jewish immigrants come to Palestine.
The streets are more crowded now.
The politics are getting more complicated.
Will Britain be able to sustain this growing population?
What happens in the future is uncertain, but for now, we are at peace.
I represent the Nazi voter, and I'm going to be representing a German Jewish perspective. Our poem is called A Chance for a Change. Germany, 1932. I lost everything because of the treaty. I haven't had a job for months. My family lives on the street. As a pure-blooded German, I never expected something like this to happen to me.
I'm scared for myself, for my family, and for my people.
I would do anything to keep them safe. Money is worthless. The cost of a car a week ago can't even buy you a loaf of bread.
They say we caused this depression, that the Jews are to blame for this mess.
I am starving. You can count my daughter's ribs through her skin.
I need this depression to end, but at what cost? My faith is what keeps me going, and I can't lose that too.
The election is a chance for a change. The Communist Party.
Communism is failing in Russia. Who's to say it will succeed here?
Their people are starving and barely getting by. Would them getting elected here really change anything? They won't help.
The Social Democrat Party.
As long as they are in office.
I am safe.
But Germany isn't.
An ineffective government is better than one that wants to deport me.
They are continuing our oppression under France and Britain. Another term in office won't change that.
Yes, but they can't possibly make it any worse.
Germany is in ruins and they aren't trying to do anything. The Nazi Party.
I am scared. If the Nazis gain power, where will I find a home in a country that wants me gone?
I lost my home months ago and I have nothing else to lose. The Nazis want to change things.
They have no diversity and no empathy. They are the epitome of social Darwinism.
The Nazis care about leading the true German people to greatness. The Treaty of Versailles caused a depression that is ruining Germany.
The Nazis believe they can destroy the treaty, but the price is war, and I'm not willing to fight for a people who vilify me.
If there is a war to abolish the treaty, I will gladly fight it. I will sacrifice my life so that my children's children aren't still working to pay an impossible debt.
Yes, but what other choice does Germany have than to pay?
As long as the treaty stands, Germany will fall. Germany has lost its land, lost its people, lost its money, and lost its freedom. The Nazis will fight for it back.
By pointing a gun at my head and pulling the trigger.
Election day.
I cast a vote
to save Germany from oppression.
to save my people from eviction.
I sit and wait. I hear the news.
My stomach drops and I feel sick, numb.
The depression has come to an end. The Nazis are victorious. It's all over. I hug my family and cry.
1940,
Europe,
Palestine,
Warsaw.
Ramallah.
My people are forced out of their homes.
We've seen this before. Europe on fire.
Me and my family, along with 140,000 other Jews, are forced into the ghetto. Life is difficult. There's not enough space, and the taste of food is now only a memory.
Social Darwinism at its worst.
Me and my family were then shipped across the country to a concentration camp.
Anti-Semitism at its worst.
If any of my people were incapable of working, they were killed, put into buildings the Nazis would then set on fire. And those who escaped the flames were either shot or electrocuted. Every day we were forced to do excruciating work in the fields, shoveling the remains of my people into the ash pond.
1945.
On the top deck of a transport ship, through moist blurry eyes, I stare back at the land that took everything from me. A land that was once my home. But looking forward across the bow awaits a new future. A future without persecution or genocide. My future, our future.
1946. 688,000 Jews flood into Palestine, doubling the Jewish population.
We're finally free.
Me and my family lived our whole lives, and now we're being kicked off our own land by people who just came here.
This is our home.
Arabs had more than 95% of the land, and now they can only live on less than 45% of it.
It's our land.
Any Jewish person from around the world can move to Palestine and live on my land, but I can't even go to my home?
I'm sorry for coming here and taking your home, but if you had gone through what I have, you would never give this up.
for what happens to you and your people, but that doesn't give you the right to take my home and kick my people out of our houses.
Our scars are still fresh.
Sitting here in a refugee camp, I still clutch the key to my demolished home, just a few miles away, but I will never see it again.
Looking at the only picture left of my family, the ash-filled shovel still haunts my memories. Our future is uncertain, but all I know is I'll keep fighting for my people.
My name is Molly, and I'm representing an Arab perspective.
Hi, my name is Mila and I'm representing the Jewish perspective.
This speech is about the UN Resolution 181, which was the United Nations plan to divide Palestine into 2 states.
And the title of our piece is called May 15th, 1948.
This is the Arab home, shared between Jews and Arabs for years.
The survivors of the Holocaust need a new home.
They deserve this land.
The Jews have only taken the land that they need.
It displaced thousands of people already living here. How many lives has that ruined?
The Jewish people are those lives, running from the home they couldn't live in anymore. This is the land they came to.
UN Resolution 181, Independent Arab and Jewish States. Jews make up only 33% of the population, and yet they take 57% of the land in the 1947 partition plan.
1900, the population of Palestine is 6% Jewish. 1920, 8%. 1935, 28%. And 1948, 82%. With this amount of growth, how can the Arabs possibly expect the Jewish people to live on any less land than they were given?
May 15th, 1948, at midnight, the State of Israel comes into being.
Is it Israel's fault that the Arabs did not accept the original solution of land division?
UNSCOP had no Arab representation. How could Arabs agree to a plan that they weren't even a part of?
Troops from Iraq, Egypt, Syria, Transjordan, and Lebanon come to the aid of Palestinians to form the Arab League and arrange an unprovoked invasion and attack on Jewish settlers. Several truce periods were attempted throughout the following 10 months of fighting. Israel lost 6,373 of their people.
627 less than the Arab casualties.
Israel was simply reacting to the violent attacks from Arabs they are constantly bombarded by.
60% of the 43% of land left to Arabs was taken. More than 750,000 innocent Palestinians were displaced. They became refugees.
This was the beginning of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict that is still going on today.
Our poem is about how Israel is building settlements in the West Bank, and this is a big issue to solving this Israeli-Palestinian conflict. We've lived here for centuries,
coexisting.
peacefully.
But then,
Colonialism, world wars, and genocide. UN Resolution 181 split up Palestine into 2 nation states.
After centuries of anti-Semitism, we finally have our own state.
This plan is a travesty for Arab people. We just lost the majority of our land with a swipe of a pen.
We want to live here.
We want to live here. Fast forward. 1967, we lost the West Bank, Gaza Strip, and Jerusalem War.
In an act of national defense,
Tensions rise.
And for Israel's security, we must build settlements.
In the West Bank, between 1967 and 2009, Israel built 148 settlements, and now the settler population approaches 500,000.
We did this to protect our country.
And destroy ours. 300,000 Palestinians from West Bank and Gaza Strip became refugees after Israeli conquest in 1967.
Since the year 2000, more than 1,300 Israelis have been murdered by Palestinian terrorists.
According to the UN, Israel is the world's top violator of UN security resolutions. You've heard us by taking our land and jamming us between your settlements.
By killing innocent people in terror attacks even after we leave.
This is my people's land, not your land.
But my land.
The settlements are key
to our security,
to our frustration, and the continued violence that falls upon my people.
The name of our poem is Trade.
It's about the daily lives of Israelis and Palestinians.
New Central Station in Tel Aviv.
I walk down the dusty road behind my apartment in Ramallah.
The hot, stale air disappears as I enter the bus.
A checkpoint blocks my way with dozens of Israeli soldiers.
I cram myself into a seat next to a skittish man with glasses.
There's a long line of people, all of them waiting to get through the checkpoint.
I pull my jacket tighter when I see an Arab man climb the steps.
One of the soldiers notices me and he eyes me suspiciously.
I am afraid. My mind races over the possibilities of this man's intentions.
Up ahead, a man is taken inside the building by 2 soldiers.
I watch him as he takes a seat in front of me.
Who knows if anyone will ever see him again? We could all die. From 2000 to 2005, Israelis killed nearly 5,000 Palestinians.
In 2002 alone, 135 acts of terrorism were committed in Israel.
I get to the front of the line and a soldier orders me off to the side, along with a few other people.
The man reaches into his bag to pull something out. My heart beats faster. It's only a cell phone.
Soldier walks back to the checkpoint.
I relax. My bus stop is still 3 blocks.
A second soldier walks over to search us.
2 blocks.
A third soldier stands back, holding his gun at the ready.
1 block.
It is my turn to be searched.
The bus stops.
I tense. The soldier has me raise my hands above my head while he pats me down.
The man stands and walks to the front of the bus.
The third soldier raises his gun, just a bit.
The man reaches into his coat pocket.
I am going to die.
The man pauses, his hand still in his pocket.
The soldier hesitates, as though he thinks he's found something.
A
second passes. The soldier waves me on.
The man leaves the bus.
I breathe a sigh of relief.
This is what I go through every day.
The name of our piece is A Peaceful Conclusion.
During our expedition, we learned from multiple perspectives about the Palestinian-Israeli conflict and proposed solutions. Our poem is about how these solutions address the issues that arise from the conflict, as well as our takeaways from the expedition.
There is no solution to this fight.
This is a religious conflict. Jews and Muslims have been fighting for thousands of years.
In a seemingly endless cycle of biblical violence.
These are the misconceptions of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. They have not been fighting for thousands of years.
This is a 20th century conflict.
And can end with a 21st century solution.
The seemingly obvious solution is to split up both Palestine and Israel into 2 separate states,
It would bring an immediate end to the occupation
which would increase Israel's positive relations with Palestine,
and reduce acts of terror.
which would increase Israel's security, its main reason for upkeeping the occupation.
With the occupation gone,
And Israel's security increased.
both sides' needs will be met, allowing for an end to the conflict.
But that's just not the case. The truth is that the solution is a lot more complicated.
The 2-state solution keeps the Zionist idea alive, but in 2006, after Israel deoccupied Gaza, Hamas, a recognized terrorist group by the United States and Israel, moved in. What's to say that won't happen again?
In 2014, Benjamin Netanyahu, Israeli Prime Minister, stated that Israel, quote, can never, ever countenance a fully sovereign Palestinian state in the West Bank. And what about the settlements?
There are 131 settlements in the West Bank, housing over 385,000 Israeli settlers. The 2-state option requires Israel to either give Palestine control of the settlements or spend billions of dollars relocating the settlers.
In 1948, more than 800,000 Palestinians became refugees due to settlements that still stand today. And in 2000, that number grew to over 5.2 million. What will happen to these refugees? Israel will most likely gain permanent control over the land that the settlements reside on. They won't accept either of these options. So how do they move forward?
How do they have equity in the future?
By joining into a single state with semi-autonomous provinces, they can have an equitable future. But there are issues.
Voting,
Zionism,
security,
settlements,
and a lifetime of inflicting pain on one another.
But separate provincial governments will have both
Jewish
and Arab representation and political autonomy.
Imagine a deoccupied West Bank with increased security along Syrian and Jordan borders.
A move that both respects Palestinians and defends against
ISIS,
Hamas,
Hezbollah,
Syria.
Iran.
But who will get Jerusalem, a holy site for both Palestinians and Israelis?
Will Palestinians get it?
Will Israelis get it? The represented body from all 3 states should have exclusive jurisdiction over Jerusalem, ensuring that all parties have political representation in this important place. While this may seem insurmountable,
we can learn from other models.
The South African apartheid was another example of a violent and complex conflict that came to a peaceful conclusion.
A solution that included public opinion and representation from a strong and trusted leader.
In fact, many conflicts have come to an end when a strong and trusted leader was present, such as
Nelson Mandela, South African apartheid.
Gandhi, Indian independence movement.
Martin Luther King Jr., U.S. Civil Rights Movement.
The South African apartheid proves that a violent and complex issue can have a peaceful resolution. A resolution to the Palestinian-Israeli conflict is achievable. It is just another example of a geopolitical issue that teaches us the importance of
understanding multiple perspectives,
critically thinking about complex issues,
and developing a willingness to dig deep into the historical roots of a conflict.
Because we are all a part of the strongest democracy in the world. It is extremely important to have a pragmatic view compared to focusing on party politics and being able to willingly understand a conflicting viewpoint.
To come to an educated conclusion.
Because this is how our world gains strong and smart leadership regardless of political party.